clicking past, ain't feeling his him. Waiting for the moment, blow up like a piston. Haters gonna hate, but persistence gonna glisten. Hold tight, 20 turn to 100 someday. Laugh in their face, shouting, who wants some pay? Papa Show.
Check, 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 check. There we go. Look at it work. Look at it work. All right, 1 second. Sorry. What up, Twitch? Give me 1 second here. I'm coordinating people. All right. All right. All right. All right. Mine is mush and I'm still playing the shroom game. Well, I'm glad I could turn you on to a game. You don't have to play it anymore for me, but if you're playing it for you, I'm glad it's there for you. What up, Twitch? What up, Team Minus? The GOAT. What up, Michael? What up, bots? What up, lurkers? What up, tiny people in Machatterino? It's your boy. It's your boy. Yeah, if you're living in if you're living in 2025 and your mind is not mush, you're probably not paying attention. Oh, it is weird out there. It is weird out there. It is weird out there. I got Stampy. We're gonna try. It's a little blanket with little cats on it. You can't really see them, but those are little cats. We'll see if that helps. We'll see if that helps. Yeah. Remember, this week is going to be weird, so be flexible. I was fired up as soon as I could be today. And yeah, so that's about all the news I got from that front. Let's get to the existential dread. From Business Insider, the AI future is already here. New data confirms that companies are hiring less in roles that AI can do. In March, Shopify CEO told his managers he was implementing a new rule. Before asking for more headcount, they had to prove that AI couldn't do the jobs as well as a human could. A few weeks later, Duolingo CEO announced a similar decree and went even further, saying that the company would gradually phase out contractors and replace them with AI. The announcements matched what I've been hearing in my own conversations with employers. Because of AI, they are hiring less than before. When I first started reporting on ChatGPT's impact on the labor market, I thought it would take many years for AI to meaningfully reshape the job landscape. But in recent months, I've found myself wondering if the AI revolution has already arrived. To answer that question, I asked Revelio Labs, an analytics provider that aggregates huge reams of workforce data from across the internet, to see if it could tell which jobs are already being replaced by AI. Not in some hypothetical future, but right now, today. Zanel Muniekwa. I'm going to go with Muniekwa. Zanel Muniekwa, an economist at Revelio Labs, started by looking at the job descriptions in online postings and identifying the listed responsibilities that AI can already perform or augment. What up, Cosmic? We just got started. Don't worry about it. She found that over the past 3 years, the share of AI doable tasks in online job postings has declined by 19%. After further analysis, she reached a startling conclusion. The vast majority of the drop took place because companies are hiring fewer people in roles that AI can do. Next, Muniqua segmented all the occupations into 3 buckets: those with a lot of AI doable tasks, high exposure roles; those with relatively few AI doable tasks, low exposure roles; and those in between. Since OpenAI released ChatGPT in 2022, she found, I just did it before stream, so I don't know. He's on the floor. He's right. He's right here. I think we might be good. Taking a little momentary break for an attempted snacking. Are we? Are we down? Are we down with the snackness? Are we down with the snackness? Get up, come on, get down with the snackness. Oh, I guess that's it. Maybe he's cutting down on the snacks because he's watching his weight. Maybe he wants more attention and less food. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? More attention, less snacks? All right. I got work to do. Oh. Since OpenAI released ChatGPT in 2022, she found there's been a decline in job openings across the board. The hiring downturn has been steeper for high exposure roles, 31%, than for low exposure roles, 25%. In short, jobs that AI can perform are disappearing from job boards faster than those that AI excuse me, that AI can't handle. Um, it's interesting. Like, there's this piece here where there's a major diversion between these two, but like this section starting in October of 24, they mimic each other, right? It's interesting. Which jobs have the most exposure to AI? Those that can handle a lot of tech functions: database administrators, IT specialists, information security, and data engineers. The job with the lowest exposure to AI, by contrast, are in person roles like restaurant managers, foremen, and mechanics. This isn't the first analysis to show the early impact of AI on the labor market. In 2023, a group of researchers at Washington University and NYU homed in on a set of professionals who are particularly vulnerable: freelancers and writing related occupations. After the introduction of ChatGPT, the number of jobs in those fields dropped by 2% on the freelancing platform Upwork, and monthly earnings declined by 5.2%. In the short term, the researchers wrote, generative AI reduces overall demand for knowledge workers of all types. And then these are jobs most and least exposed to AI based on share of tasks that could be performed or augmented by AI. And this is basically mimicking the list that was listed there in the article. At Revelio Labs, Muniqua is careful about expanding on the implications of her own finding. It's unclear, she says, if AI in its current iteration is capable of doing all the white collar work that employees think it can. It could be that CEOs at companies like Shopify and Duolingo will wake up one day and discover that hiring less for AI exposed roles was a bad move. Will it affect the quality of the work or the creativity of employees and ultimately the bottom line? The answer will determine how enduring the AI hiring standstill will prove to be in the years ahead. Some companies already appear to be doing an about face on their AI optimism. And now they're going to do the thing I told you that you need to be careful about doing here. Last year, the fintech company Klarna boasted that its investment in artificial intelligence had enabled it to put a freeze on human hiring. The AI assistant, it reported, was doing the equivalent work of 700 full time agents. But in recent months, Klarna has changed its tune. It started hiring human agents again, acknowledging that its AI driven cost cutting push led to lower quality. I need to see where they said it led to lower quality. Now, this is a quote, so I'm going to assume that they said that. The indications that I read in the article was that a client, yeah, right here. It's so critical that you are clear to your customer that there will always be a human. So it was client related, wanting a human, similar to the automated trucking that's currently appearing down in Texas through Aurora. There is no requirement for a driver to be sitting in the seat. What up, Noah? A driver to be sitting in the seat, in the driver's seat. A client requested that a driver be sitting in the driver's seat, right? There's a difference between client request and capability. You should not conflate the two. Really investing in the quality of the human support is the way of the future for us, right? So even under this format, right? They have indicated that they are only hiring the top tier customer service talent for these roles. So even even if there is a lack of quality with the AI across the board, there's not an indication that it's sufficient to rehire all humans to replace those AI tools, right? Those AI interactions. What you're going to end up with is at tier 2 and tier 3, fewer humans, right? And no humans at tier 1. Because the task can be done, generally speaking, by the AI tools. And then when you need a human, because there's something out of the box that the AI can't handle, you'll get a human. And then that, of course, will go into the data set for the next iteration of the AI. Go ahead. Come on. Do we not like the... Can you figure out what you want to do, dude? Will there be more Chasen Siemikowskis in the months and years ahead? I'm not betting on it. All across tech, chief executives share an almost religious fervor to have fewer employees around. Employees who complain and get demotivated and need breaks in all the ways AI doesn't. At the same time, the AI tools at our disposal are getting better and better each month, enabling companies to shed employees. As long as that's the case, I'm not sure white collar occupations face an optimistic future. Even Siemikowski says he expects to reduce his workforce by another 500 through attrition in the coming year. See, this is not indicative of this, where we need to go back to humans, right? You're still reducing the workforce. And when Klarna's technology improves enough, he predicts he'll be able to downsize at an even faster pace. Asked when that point will come, he replied, I think it's very likely within 12 months. But Globus, this is only like one place, one indicator. You need more indicators. Okay, it looks like he's satisfied with the blanket. So, Stampy Cam is back in business. Business Insider goes all in on AI, laying off 21% of staff. Business Insider laid off about 1/5 of its workforce Thursday, a sweeping round of cuts that affected every department and drew swift criticism from former employees and their union. As you would expect, right? Like, if I get fired, I'm definitely criticizing my former workplace. The layoffs were announced in a staff memo from Business Insider CEO Barbara Peng, who framed the cuts as part of long-term transformation strategy to make the publication the essential source of business, tech, and innovation journalism. Some people on the internet have suggested that these companies might be using AI as a convenient excuse to lay off employees rather than admitting they overhired during the pandemic. What are your thoughts on this? It could very well be a combination of both factors, not necessarily one or the other. Sure. It could be that, right? Those were the arguments made earlier this year, late last year, previously, regarding why there was a round of layoffs in the tech space, right? That could be the case. Do I think it's the case? I think it's like, I don't know, man. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. The idea that of over hiring and now cutting back, right? Why would what is over hiring exactly? Did those people have nothing to do, or were you able to shift more of their labor onto fewer people? And if you're able to shift more of their labor onto fewer people, how are you accommodating that? How are you accommodating that? Are you just expecting what up, Iggy? Are you expecting your employees to work more hours? Is that happening? Right? That would be an important piece of data regarding that. Or are they using tools that allow them to do more work? If they're using tools to do more work, then I would ask, what kind of tools are they using? I find it difficult to believe based on I don't know. I never worked in the tech space. It could be an entirely different kind of animal to any space that I have worked in. But I find it challenging to believe that they would overhire to that extent. I mean, we're talking thousands of people, right? And as percentage of the workforce, maybe that's not that much. The places I've worked at have hired additional people when there has been additional work to do, and then sometimes let those people go because they weren't contributing enough, or there wasn't as much work to go around, like the ebb and flow of labor as it or of jobs as it exists. Um, and maybe that's it. Maybe there's just less code to write or maintain. I don't. That doesn't make sense to me. But again, I don't work in the tech space, and it could be special. How about the impact of the latest administration and trade and tax policies on the back of the AI? I mean, maybe, but like we're talking about trends that exist outside of the current administration. Um, like we're talking about something that's been going on for longer, actually, than the last 2.5 years, right? Since the dawn of ChatGPT and the current round of AI. They hired a bunch of people in the pandemic era. And on one hand, what I saw was that a lot of people wanted to work from home, and there was a flood of opportunities for people who could do gig work or the same kind of gig work, but under a more formal employment sense. You know what I mean? And then, um, and then they started firing people. I don't know, man. I think the tools help you do a lot of work. That's all I'm saying. We're reducing the size of our organization, a move that will impact about 21% of our colleagues and touch every department, Peng wrote in the memo, which was sent to staff Thursday morning. While today's changes are what we must do to build the most enduring Business Insider, it doesn't make them any easier. In addition to scaling back on coverage areas and traffic sensitive Business Insider plans to exit most of its commerce verticals, which have long been a major revenue driver through affiliate links and search engine traffic. Interesting. Why would Business Insider be bailing on search engine traffic? The company also plans a new push into live journalism events through a platform called BI Live and a sharp pivot towards artificial intelligence. Over 70% of Business Insider employees are already using enterprise ChatGPT regularly. Our goal is 100%, and we're building prompt libraries and sharing everyday use cases that help us work faster, smarter, and better. Focus on AI did not sit well with the Insider Union, a unit of the News Guild of New York, which sharply rebuked the layoffs in a statement Thursday. To say this was tone deaf to include in an email on layoffs would be an understatement, the union said, referring to Peng's emphasis on going all in on AI in the same announcement. Our position as a union is that no AI tool or technology should or can take the place of a human being. I, I'm sorry. So, Michael, the argument boils down to the CEO is using AI as an excuse because they want to hype up the new technology. To what end? Right? You can make that argument that Sam Altman or, Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk want to hype up the AI, right? But these companies are using tools that they purchased or like subscribe to from OpenAI or Meta or what have you. And like, so the argument would be that they're shifting to AI and saying that the cuts to employment are, because of the AI, and the benefit to them is that hyping up the AI is what is going to, just get more stockholder investment. Like, I'm not sure it's. I'm willing to accept any argument, right? But you gotta go through the entire process. You can't just terminate at, oh, they want to hype up the AI. Okay, to what end? Well, they want, more stockholder investments, and AI is the big thing. All the stockholders want AI. Okay, to what end? Right? Like, there's just a progression of logic that you have to walk through, in order to. The AI is just a revenue generator, and everyone is in on this, right? Like, you be, because you have to look at who is developing and using AI, right? It's happening in China, it's happening in the US, it's happening in the EU, it's happening in the UAE, it's happening in Saudi Arabia, it's happening in Singapore, it's happening in Ghana, right? Is everyone, and this is why the AI hype cycle argument falls apart for me, is it requires everyone to be in on it. You know what I mean? Either they are in on it or they're tricked. And I'm sorry, you sound an awful lot like some conspiracy theory bullshit. Right? When people start talking about the secret government programs to do whatever, and the deep state, and you're all tricked by the deep space, and it's just they could just smell the same, right? They could just kind of look the same. I'm not a if it walks like a duck kind of person, right? Because two animals can look the same but not be the same. You know what I mean? What up, Ribbons? What I'm asking you is, like, define your differences between the conspiracy type thinking and what it is that you're projecting, right? Like, you have to explain to me why there's a difference there. I just say this in a big picture sense. A skeptic could say it's just the overall effect of capitalism. I mean, it is, right? Like that. You're not wrong, Cosmic. The reason that they're shifting to AI is to maximize profit, because AI is cheaper than people, right? 100%. There's no, that's not the issue. The issue is, like, that there are people out there who believe that the AI isn't as capable as doing these tasks as AI or as people, right? The AI is not as capable of doing the tasks as people are. And under those conditions, they're just bullshitting in order to maximize profit. But they're not actually doing the things that, that are, like, good for business in the long term, right? They're just doing short-term profit gains. And I don't know, maybe, but you gotta come with some, like, evidence. There's too many fucking people going off vibes lately. And I don't care what your political leanings are. Too many people going off vibes. Too many people rolling off anecdotes. Right? Like, the number of people who are talking about the goddamn that fucking paper that RFK and whatnot put out, and they're like, oh, they used ChatGPT to write it. There's no indication that they actually did that, right? There's no evidence. I'm sorry, there's no evidence. The indication is subjective. but there's no evidence that they did that. What they found was that in all the papers cited within that, there are 7 of them, if I'm recalling this correctly. I could be wrong, don't hold me. But there are 7 of them that are suspect, right? And then some experts say that they may have used ChatGPT to write it, right? And this is the hallucination argument. And that could be true. I just want to see some evidence that it's true, right? Because what I heard was that one of the people involved who had a paper that was cited that did not actually write that paper said that they did the research but never actually did the paper. So what they cited was this proposal, basically. They manufactured a end result paper out of a proposal that they had actually done the research on but never actually published the paper, which is something different than ChatGPT just made some bullshit up. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying that people are getting a little bit too free and easy with their vibes, especially because they want it to be true. They want the AI to be failing. They want the AI to be incompetent. They need the AI to be incompetent because the alternative is that the AI is not incompetent, that the AI is capable. What up, Pharaoh? And that those jobs are going away and there's nothing that they can do about it. And I'm sorry, I worked debt collection post 2008. And one of the things that the dude was talking about, like when I'm in my training, he's like, those jobs that these people lost, a bunch of people lost their jobs, right? And a bunch of people had excess credit card debt that was based on their expected future income. And those jobs were gone. And a lot of people reacted poorly to that. And I'm not justifying the 2008 crisis. I'm not even justifying, debt collection. I'm saying I work debt collection because it's one of the jobs that you do when you live in Western New York. If you haven't worked debt collection, you're not really from Western New York. We're Samsons. I agree with you. I just occasionally want to posit the opposite viewpoint to make sure that this community isn't basking in its own farts and calling it cotton candy. 100%, 100%. And that's the thing is when people posit alternatives, we need to analyze the information, right? Like we need to seriously take that into consideration and see whether or not are we missing something, right? I'm always willing to take alternative information. I'm always willing to come up with alternative conclusions. I just need to see evidence, not your fucking vibes, dude. You know what I mean? So are the workers doing Ludditism in the face of their employers? I don't like the term Ludditism because Ludditism is more complex than the way that people use it, right? The workers are experiencing a threat to their job. And in the United States, and as far as I know, just the United States, but like there's other things, but in the United States, everything is hinged on your ability to work, right? And they're even in the big beautiful bill, they're trying to tie more shit on your ability to work, right? It's your housing, it's your food, it's your healthcare, it's your everything in the United States is tied to your work. So the idea that this faceless digital monster can devour your labor, right? Devour your ability to do labor, the thing that you invested all your time and effort in up until this point, is terrifying. And it's psychologically easy to hate the AI, right? And to hate the robots because there's nobody in there, right? There's nobody home inside the AI, as far as we know. Probably not. You know what I mean? Right? We understand, there are people who do the immigrants took your job, and there are those of us who say, no, the corporation gave your job to the immigrants, and and the immigrants have like a face. They're people. They're just like us, right? They're subsistent on the table scraps of capitalism in order to do the thing, or move your job overseas, right? Either people came here to do your job, or your job went somewhere else, and basically it's because they can afford to pay the people less, right? And I did construction, and I'm sorry, the Puerto Rican boys, they move, right? Like, you can feel however you want to feel about that, but them Puerto Rican boys, they move, right? They'll bust out some shit. They're there to fucking work. They're not there to chit chat and bullshit and fucking, have a cup of coffee and smoke a fucking cigarette. They are there to work. So, but they have a face. They are people. So there's an emotional component to that a lot of people understand, especially if your politics trend left. You're like, you understand that those are just people, and capitalism is, just doing what capitalism does, and I will pay people to do more work for less money than I will to do the opposite. But the AI has no face. The AI has no heart. The AI has no children at home. So it's very easy. Baby, I just met you. This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. What up, Ivan? And and I'm not saying that Americans don't work. Like I like to think that I worked hard when I was working. I'm just saying that the AI is very easy to hate. I hope the AI takes jobs so it forces the people in power to offer real alternatives, ergo UBI. Yeah, you're talking about it, and I wish I could remember exactly what he said. I'll have to go back and look. But some people refer to what you're talking about as accelerationism, right? The idea that it's accelerating the thing. And acceleration generally isn't good. Because acceleration can lead to pressure without progress. But Aaron Bastani in Fully Automated Luxury Communism has a different spin on it. And that was the one that I agree with his spin on it. I'm unfortunately not remembering what it is that he said. An English construction worker was injured last week. He fell off his shovel. The joke being that he was leaning on a shovel and the shovel slipped and he fell. I feel the real earth-shaking situation is going to come when AI agent actually get a grip on handling anything is thrown at them. The more that they can deal with novel. Benny Hill getting like yakety sax. I can just hear yakety sax in my head whenever I see certain things. If a bunch of people are moving quickly in a particular direction, especially if the video is sped up, it's yakety sax right on top of that. Yes, as the AI becomes more capable of handling novel situations, it's going to continue. But it's going to be like this, right? Yeah, well, that's what we're talking about. I have multiple arguments about or articles about how the jobs are going away. All right. Tone deaf. According to the union, about 20% of its members were affected by the layoff. Layoffs of our talented coworkers and union members is another example of Axel Springer's brazen pivot away from journalism towards greed. That may be true, but what are you going to do about it? This is the third round of layoffs in as many years, and it is unacceptable that union members and other talented coworkers are again paying the price for the strategic failures of Business Insider's leadership. It's not a strategic failure. You could argue that the overhiring during COVID, such a thing is true, is a strategic failure, but this is a cost-cutting measure, right? This is, why should I hire 3 people to do a job if I could hire 2 people in a tool or 1 person in 2 tools? You know what I mean? What up, Larry? That is definitely words. Former staffers began sharing the news of their departures across social media. I'm one of a big bunch of journalists who got laid off from Business Insider today. This sucks, wrote Adam Rogers, a longtime journalist and former Wired editor on Blue Sky, which is to say, I wish the profession I've spent my life chasing wasn't in such chaos. Others pointed to the significant cuts within the commerce team, a division once heavily focused on search optimized shopping content. What might be affecting search optimized shopping content? William Antonelli, a former full-time staffer laid off from Business Insider last year, wrote on X, today's layoffs destroyed the commerce team, my only source of semi-stable freelance work. Though much of the media industry has heartily embraced commerce content over the last decade, Business Insider cited volatility in traffic and the decline of search-driven referral models as the reason to curtail its coverage. We're reducing our overall company to a size where we can absorb that volatility. What could be affecting search-driven referral models? In its place is BI Live, a new division centered on live journalism and in-person events that's aimed at connecting with its audience and expanding its experimental offering. Because live journalism and in-person events is not something that the AI is capable of doing. I'm not saying you are, Michael. I'm just saying, that's what some people can refer to it as. What I'm suggesting is that if AI leads to large-scale job displacement, the government will need to provide viable alternatives. It doesn't need to. It's an important thing to remember. It does not need to, right? I listen, watching the recent Adam something, right? There's a lot of should statements from people, and should statements are value-driven. And value-driven statements are only effective to the people who actually hold those values. Now, I think that everyone should have a house, and I think that everyone should have health care, and I think that everyone should have food and all that other stuff, but other people don't. Or other people like to put qualifiers in them. Yes, I think everyone should have a house. They just should have to work for it. Yes, I think everyone should have health care, but they should have to work for it, etc., etc. Right? These are value-driven statements. And the idea that just because to you it is self-evident that all people should have housing is self-evident, right? Like they just should. Not everyone feels that way. And if you just expect people to get it, you are going to be fucking disappointed. A lot of people, and this is not because they're mean or callous, right? Like, this is an important distinction. They just think people should work for stuff, right? It's the the American cyclical mindset of thing. I did thing, ergo everyone should do thing, right? I paid my student loans, ergo everyone should pay their student loans. I paid my student loans. My student loans were $2,000 and I paid them off with taxes 1 year. Right? It was easy because it was $2,000. Other people have significantly more student loans and cannot just pay them off with taxes. So, displacing millions of workers in such a short time without alternative simply isn't feasible. It's a matter of basic arithmetic. I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is there are arguments against what you're talking about. And again, I am not making those arguments. I'm saying those arguments exist. And I'm saying that austerity is the rule of the day. And part of the reason that austerity is the rule of the day is because political parties want corporate donors to supply them with big money. But it's also because people abdicate the participation in the elections. Right? You're definitely not going to get a person elected to office if you don't vote for him. So who does get elected to office? The people who get voted for. And who gets voted for? The insider union, meanwhile, vowed to hold management accountable to... Sure, I'll run. I don't give a fuck. The insider union, meanwhile, vowed to hold management accountable to the terms of its contract. We expect business insider management to follow the layoff procedures outlined in our contract and treat our members with the respect that they deserve. And they probably will. They probably will, adhere to the contract. How much longer does that contract run? From the New York Times, behind a paywall. Shocking. Something, democracy dies in the dark. Excuse me. For some recent graduates, the AI job apocalypse may already be here. That's the Washington Post motto. It is. It's not the New York Times motto. It's the Washington Post motto. I'm sure Washington Post doesn't have paywalls. Shout out The Guardian, right? For anything you want to say about The Guardian, and you can say stuff about The Guardian doesn't have paywalls. The Guardian is on that Wikipedia model, right? Like, they asked nicely if you would contribute some money. But Kevin Roose. This month, millions of young people will graduate from college and look for work in industries that have little use for their skills, view them as expensive and expendable, and are rapidly phasing out their jobs in favor of artificial intelligence. That is a troubling conclusion of my conversations over the past several months with economists, corporate executives, and young job seekers many of whom pointed to an emerging crisis for entry-level workers that appears to be fueled, at least in part, by rapid advances in AI capabilities. Here's another thing, right? People like to dunk on VCs and startups, etc., and go ahead, right? Like, by all means, have at it. But something you'll notice about a lot of the startups these days, if you pay attention, is that it's not like 20 people or whatever. It's 2 or 3 or 1. And not there's one front facing person and 20 people in the back. I mean, it's 1 or 2, because they can do stuff with the tools that are allowing them to bypass getting a whole group of people together to do the stuff. Now, you can say that's not indicative of something, but it kind of feels indicative of something to me. I did swap out my WAPO sub for The Guardian, but I also think it's good to pay for real journalism, like it's good to pay for public radio and TV. I agree. I just can't. You know, sub bar go down, line go down. I use the funds from this channel to to reinvest in the channel in order to provide you with things, right? Like, and this is not, I'm guilting you into subbing. I only want people to sub if they have the money and can sub or gift sub or what have you. I'm never coming for your pocket. That's why there aren't commercials during the thing. I understand all the reasons to put commercials in the thing and not have pre-rolls. I get it, but I'm not doing it, and there's a fucking reason, right? Like, I'm aware. But it also changes my ability to, do things. The other thing is, let's say that I did get a subscription to, like, the New York Times because of, right, exactly, Ivan, you got there. Even if you sub to the New York Times, there would be 100 great sites you're not sub to. That's ultimately the point, right? Like, I don't just go through one thing. I would not want to become we get all our news from the New York Times channel, right? The whole point is that we get our news from a variety of sources to get like a broader view of the thing, rather than just listening to one outlet, which is going to have some sort of editorial bias baked in. It's just how it works. One other factor at play, which is that the HR department now screen all applicant CVs with AI before interviewing. True. The problem here is that a lot of the courses don't have jobs waiting for them. They choose poorly, and universities just want to make money from courses that are popular for a lot of it. To an extent, the other thing you have to remember, Pharaoh, is you picture the educational arc that you have to go on as a student. And that educational arc, in a lot of ways, is going to be primarily driven by the parents. You know what I mean? What up, Ponder Monkey? Yeah, that's some wild shit. I'm not gonna get into it. But there's some wild shit happened in Colorado, right? So, for the first portion, relatively speaking, of your educational process, right? You get standardized education, more or less, right? It's going to vary based, of course, on the socioeconomic conditions of your parents and the socioeconomic conditions of the school, right? There will be some variety baked into that. Then you begin to be able to take certain kinds of electives, not just necessarily at school, but outside of school. Do you have a local, um, public place that does like classes? Or do you have connection to the internet and the ability to afford a computer? If you have the ability to connect to the internet and afford a computer, maybe you're taking on additional, learnings, right? Like, in addition to my son going to school, he is also using Khan Academy for some more niche stuff that is going to help him once he goes to college, right? Like, so that is something that can be done because we have the internet and he has a computer. If that were not the case, he would not be able to do that. You follow me? Then you get towards the later end of your high school or primary or whatever you call it in England, um educational cycle, and you get more electives. Maybe you take more advanced classes. Sometimes you get college level classes because you're beginning to specialize, right? And then you go to college and you spend 2, 4, 6 years, maybe more, depending on what you're going into, to learn a particular trade. So if you started your college arc 4 years ago, well, 2.5 years ago, something happened. But you're already on that arc. So how do you abandon that arc for a new arc? Often you don't. Often you pretend that the thing that's happening isn't happening. You don't want to disappoint your parents. You already took out fucking student loans. You need this job in order to pay that shit off. So what do you do? And that's why, like, is there a percentage of people who choose, college majors and minors that aren't conducive to the capitalist system that they are going to exit college and be a part of? Yes, right? Is that a bad thing? I don't know, right? Like, part of it is, what are you going to do, like, afterwards? How are you going to exist within the environment? But on the other hand, we need people to do things that are not necessarily conducive to making a shit ton of money in the current economic system, right? Like, we just need people. Like art and and writers and fucking, I mean, fuck, I like baskets. We need basket weavers. You know what I mean? Like, all of this shit. Like, it should be a variety of people doing a variety of things. That's something to hope for, Cosmic. I think that I am strongly of the opinion that even if we get to a point where planes can take off, fly, and land themselves without a human being, there will be a safety human in that cockpit just to make people happy. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna take a lot to get over that particular hump, right? There are certain things like flying that, like, people are going to, well, why isn't there a person there, right? Like, what do we do if there's a problem? I mean, not even getting into that, Ponder Monkey. Yeah, no, and I was talking about that earlier, is in reference to the whole Klarna thing. But the client asked for a person to be sitting behind the wheel. The truck allegedly does not require a human being to be behind the wheel, but the client wanted one. The client gets one. If the client is giving you thousands or millions of dollars to move your freight around, the client gets a person sitting in the fucking seat. What up, X1011? Plane of the future will have dog as its co-pilot. The dog will, or the human will be there the pilot will be there to feed the dog, and the dog will be there to prevent the pilot, from touching the controls. You see hints of this in the economic data. Unemployment for recent college graduates has jumped to an unusually high 5.8% in recent months, and the Federal Reserve Bank of New York recently warned that the employment situation for these workers had deteriorated noticeably. Oxford Economics, a research firm that studies labor markets, found that unemployment for recent graduates was heavily concentrated in technical fields like finance and computer science, where AI has made faster gains. But again, AI sucks. AI sucks at its job, obviously, right? Obviously, this is all just a scam. Obviously, they're just hyping it up to make short-term gains and whatever. Obviously, you can't draw any long-term conclusions from this, despite of all the data that tells you otherwise. You can believe whatever you want as long as you completely ignore the data. There are signs that entry-level positions are being displaced by artificial intelligence at higher rates, the firm wrote in a recent report. So this is another thing, Michael, back to the conversation we were having earlier. Is Oxford Economics in on the scam? Is Oxford Economics in on the AI scam? You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense to you? Is Oxford Economics just hyping up? I'm sorry, I forgot to turn on the desktop audio. Um, like just because something is happening and somebody benefits does not mean does not mean nobody used this. This was perfect. Remember that? I'm going back because y'all missed an opportunity. Remember when we looked at this chart right here? Somebody should have used this.
Look at this chart. Let's bring it up.
What am I looking at here?
I don't know, but it doesn't look good.
That looks bad.
Yeah, it's probably bad.
It's probably bad. Oh, where is it? There we go. Rex 11. Oh, I hate it here. Super loud, too. I think that would be too subtle, Ponder Monkey. You have to. It's too deep, right? Too deep a cut. Too deep a cut. But you're not wrong. But this is the thing. It's like, who all is in on the fucking conspiracy, right? Like, is it everybody? What up, Data Boy? If everyone's in on the conspiracy, then like, you really, really start to sound like a conspiracy theorist. You know what I mean? Everyone's in on the scam. Everyone's in on the AI hype scam. You can make an argument that fucking OpenAI is, overhyping their tool. I will listen to that argument. It makes sense, right? Of course they are. Everyone does
You'll be
that.
back like before. I will fight the fight and win the war.
There's a person who's supporting my ability to not show you ads. Globus the Elder Show is supported by viewers like you. And unlike PBS, I don't get anything from the Koch brothers. Thank you, homie. I appreciate you. 27 months. Johnny Ives is in on the scam. Where are we? It's a bunch of months. It's a lot of months in a row. The glizzy. Fucking, I wish I had half the talent for creating emotes that Rhizome does. And as far as I know, Rhizome makes them all themselves, right? But I'm convinced that's what's showing up in but I'm convinced that what's showing up in the economic data is only the tip of the iceberg. You remember Kevin Roose? Kevin Roose being like, so AI is overly hyped, and Kevin Roose being, oh my God, the AI told me it loved me, and I freaked the fuck out to the point where I was on a news show talking about how I freaked the fuck out. Kevin Roose. They got to him. The AI conspiracy got to him. The AI deep state flipped Kevin Roose. Oh my God. Or the other thing. Yeah, I'm real bad at cleaning up after the fact. And I mean, I got no problem still advertising Legend of Mushroom. They did me right? They gave a free subby that went to Stellar Wingman, thanks to what Michael McAllister did, and the payout was decent. Y'all were great. Y'all were excellent supporting that. Well, in this country, our concerns on AI are mostly due to the fact that few folks approach it with an eye towards class consciousness. Yeah, no, we've been talking about this today. So yeah, no, like we have absolutely touched on that. I'm glad you mentioned it. I'm glad you pointed out. We're all generally on the same page. I don't know that there's anybody in this community who's on some, fuck them workers time, right? Like, we all care about the fact that the AI is coming for the jobs, that the capitalists are using the AI to replace workers with the AI, all that kind of stuff. We're all on that time, generally speaking. If there is anybody who feels that way, they haven't opened their mouth in chat. It's just the question that comes up is what should be done about it, right? Like that's where the conversation is being had. My Pharaoh, a bunch of people are on the we need people to take this fucking seriously and stave off the coming, thing that happens when you have a bunch of people with too much time on their hands and children with hungry bellies. That's what we want, right? There are other people who think that we should and can stand between this automation wave, like that we can somehow stop it. And again, that's a valid point of view. You just have to convince me, if anybody cares to want to try, you just have to explain to me how you do that, right? I just don't think that can be done. I don't think that it actually can happen. But I'm willing to listen. I'm open to the idea. What up, Textilian? Yeah, no, I got him. I don't know if you can see it. We're going to zoom in on Stampy. He's got a blanket with little cats on it. These are little cats. So he's back. He's happy to be back in his chair. Hey, buddy. Boop. Hey, it doesn't sound like a bad idea to me, Ponder Monkey. I've heard, I don't know how true they are, but I've heard that if we tax like the top 1,000 people in the United States 2%, that we can pay for everything. So I'm open to the idea. If there weren't so much public skepticism about autonomous vehicles, I believe Waymo would be operating across most of the United States by now. Again, I have concerns about Waymo operating in certain extreme weather conditions. And by extreme, I mean snow, mostly, right? Like, I'm not entirely certain how the LiDAR is going to operate in the snow, right? Like falling snow, that kind of stuff. I have heard some things, and that's that is a hurdle that they have to cross. I think in most places during nice weather, yes, right? It's just you can't go all in on Waymo or fully automated driving just during nice weather, because then what do you do when there's not nice weather, kind of thing. Fortunately, we know that our governments are not amenable to becoming nanny states. I believe in nanny states personally. And this is ultimately, Danny, that's my point, right? Like, if you want to stop the the automation cycle that's currently, that I believe, and Kevin Roos and other people believe is currently happening, that requires people at like all levels of the process to be doing the thing, right? You can't just organize your local community. You also need people who are going to listen to your requests or your demands, or however you want to put that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just, you can't just say, okay, if we all organize and then we go and we protest, then they'll listen to us. I beg to differ. I have evidence to back it up that they won't, in fact, listen to you. Bloop, bloop, bloop. In interview after interview, I'm hearing that firms are making rapid progress towards automating entry-level work, and that the AI companies are racing to build virtual workers that can replace junior employees at a fraction of the cost. Corporate attitudes towards automation are changing too. Some firms have encouraged managers to become AI first, testing whether a given task can be done by AI before hiring a human to do it. One tech executive recently told me his company had stopped hiring anything below an L5 software engineer, a mid-level title typically given to programmers with 3 to 7 years of experience, because lower-level tasks could now be done by AI coding tools. Another told me that his startup now employed a single data scientist to do the kind of tasks that required a team of 75 people at his previous company. I suppose we got to go through a few decades of techno-feudalism. I would like to not to. I guess we'll see. We often don't get to choose. Anecdotes like these don't add up to mass joblessness. Shout out Kevin for, like, I was like, these are anecdotes, right? Like, I was just railing about anecdotes earlier today, and these are anecdotes. And it, like, he's acknowledging that they're anecdotes, right? That they are not necessarily indicative of anything. Anecdotes like these don't add up to mass joblessness, of course. Most economists believe there are multiple factors behind the rise in unemployment for college graduates, including a hiring slowdown by big tech companies and broader uncertainty about President Trump's economic policies. So this speaks to the point that I apologize. One of you made earlier about the economic policies. This is the other thing, the hiring slowdown being related to the overhiring during the during the pandemic. So like could be multiple factors, right? Could be multiple factors. I agree, Cosmic. I agree. But among people who pay close attention to what's happening in AI, alarms are starting to go off. This is something I'm hearing about left and right, said Molly Kinder, a fellow at the Brookings Institution, a public policy think tank who studies the impact of AI on workers. Employers are saying these tools are so good, I no longer need marketing analysts, finance analysts, and research assistants. Using AI to automate white-collar jobs has been a dream among executives for years. I heard them fantasizing about it in Davos back in 2019. But until recently, the technology simply wasn't good enough. You could use AI to automate some routine back-office tasks, and many companies did. But when it came to the more complex and technical parts of many jobs, AI couldn't hold a candle to humans. And it's starting to change, especially in fields such as software engineering, where there are clear markers of success and failure, such as does the code work or not? One of the places I see coders take a stand on is that the code isn't elegant, right? And this is a thing, right? Like as an electrician, your wiring solution should be elegant, right? Like it should be not the minimum, but the proper amount of everything, right? And it should look nice, it should be pretty and all that. Like it's a whole fucking thing. But you can also have it not be that way and it still work, right? You can have it not be elegant. You can have it not be pretty, and it will still work and be safe, right? Like, I'm not saying that, like, there's a bunch of sketch shit out in the world, right? Like, I'm surprised that more shit doesn't burn down because of some of the electrical wiring I've seen in houses and buildings. What up, Beef? But there's a lot of, electrical wiring in the world that is fully functional, fully safe. It's just ugly as shit. And to Beef's point, can lead to issues down the road, right? Like as you try to, because it's definitely that same kind of thing. Electricity, like, is the closest thing that I've done to coding in that sense. You know what I mean? There are a lot of people who did a fix to solve a current problem and kicked the can down the road to a future person, right? And it was me. I was future person. I always wanted to just like fix it, right? Fix it right. Do it right. Current problem. It was not. And I'm disappointed in myself, Ponder Monkey, that I missed that one. Yeah. Joint specialist. What up? But it's that kind of thing, right? Like it's in coding, it's called technical debt, right? Like solving a problem right now is not necessarily solving the problem long term. You can get something to work, I assume, right? Like I'm making a lot of assumptions, being open to be corrected by the coding people, but like I assume that there's things that you can do to get something working and it will work, and then you will have to leave it, even though you know, and you may or may not know, but later on down the road, there's some dependency that exists that you disrupted that you haven't run into yet, right? And then some future person is going to try to add a feature, and then a whole bunch of weird shit is going to break on you, right? Is that fair? You can ask AI models to conform to your architecture goals through, excuse me, proper prompting, maintaining documentation style docs, you can reference, etc. It does require a skilled human involved, though, and that's part of the problem. Ribbons is that you're gonna end up with a skilled human monitoring a bunch of bots as opposed to a skilled human training a bunch of entry level people. And that, like, it won't, and conducive to the argument that I'm making here, it won't be a problem now, and it won't be a problem soon, but eventually, when what they're banking on is that the AI will develop faster than the replacement rate for those skilled humans, right? This is not what happened when it came to plumbing and electricians and everything else. And now we're currently in a drought of those skilled professions. Some died during the pandemic, some retired during the pandemic. And then a lot of it was, don't go to, trade school, go to college, right? You're don't learn to be an electrician, learn to be a coder, right? And I'm not saying anything negative about coders. I think, again, we need a variety of different people doing a variety of different things and learning whatever it is that makes them happy. I'm just saying that this is what we did. And going back to the other conversation where we were talking about like that progression of your school experience, you know what I mean? And how like you get kind of locked into the thing. There's no pivot there. You can't pivot from learning to code, right? And becoming, I'm going to be a software engineer, and like fucking 5 years ago, being a software engineer sounded like the perfect fucking future. You make a whole bunch of money or some shit, right? And like that. And then all of a sudden, what are you going to do? Pivot to being a plumber? Right? This is like the thing with that, like the coal miners can be retrained. Retrained to do what, Ben? Fucking Aquaman? You know what I mean? Like, it's not that easy to pivot like that. There's a game I played called The Bazaar. I worry that them not fixing their technical debt in the near term is going to sabotage the game's future success. Sure, absolutely. I used Claude Sonnet last week. 15 minutes saved 4 to 8 hours of work. I still needed hours to glue the new stuff into legacy code. A huge acceleration. Yeah. What up, Crix? The coal miner to coder pipeline, right? And that's the thing. Imagine if you will, that you're that rare coal miner that saw the writing on the wall and you pivoted, right? And you were able to do it. And you learned to code. And then you become this. Right? Where you were just, I did what you told me to do, and still I got fucked. In these fields, AI systems can be trained using a trial and error process known as reinforcement learning to perform complex sequences of actions on their own. Eventually, they can become competent at carrying out tasks that would take human workers hours or days to complete. Again, like Ivan just said about like 15 minutes versus 4 to 8 hours of work, right? Like there are still things to do, but now you have an additional 4 to 8 hours in which to do them and still complete it within the same timetable, right? Like this is the thing. I don't care. I do not care. I give none fucks that Claude can't code an app from beginning to end, right? How much time can it save you within that context in order to accomplish those goals, right? If it can get you 20% down the road everywhere in the project, you're going to take that, right? And yeah, it's going to do things that you wouldn't do. But you're either going to be able to convince the tool to do things your way, or you're going to adapt your behaviors to the tool. You're going to do one or the other, right? You're going because you've done that everywhere else, right? Like people who say Google is unusable now. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, does it suck with search engine optimization and everything else? Sure. But what have I done? I've just adapted to the search engine optimization and understand that that top shit is probably horseshit, and I'm going to have to move on past it. But I learned to skim, and I look for the information that I'm trying to get to. Boom, done. It's an adaptation. It's what human beings do. So that's what you're going to do with the code, the coding bot. You're going to teach it where you can. You're going to adapt to what it does where you can in order to save yourself time. And then you're going to move the fuck on. I'm the worst with Google Maps because the cop is always there. People who know my takes on speeding, is the cop still there? Yes. It all boils down to the fundamentals. People need the assurance that they can reasonably raise children. Without that security, birth rates will decline. Furthermore, strict immigration policies won't compensate for that deficit. Yes, I think there's more to it than that. It's not just that, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that anything you said is incorrect. I'm saying that plus, yes, and, right? Like that kind of thing. But I don't want to get into all that. I'm just, the Kyrgyzstan's video on South Korea kind of messed me up. Wait, you should say the cop isn't there so they get caught. No, I don't want them to get caught. I absolutely do not want them to get caught. I want them to think the cop is there, that think they can't see the cop, and slow down to the speed limit so that they don't get caught. Easy. Until we get to the point where you need kids to work the land so you can eat. I mean, the robots are coming for them jobs too, dude. Was that from earlier in the streams? Was what? What beef? There's a bunch of stuff. I need a little more detail, and I can tell you when it happened. Blip, 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 blip. This approach was on display last week at an event held by Anthropic, the AI company that makes the Claude chatbot. The company claims that its most powerful model, Claude Opus 4, is it Claude 4 Opus or Claude Opus 4, dude? I need help. I need an adult. Can now code for several hours without stopping. A tantalizing possibility if you're a company accustomed to paying six-figure engineer salaries for that kind of productivity. AI companies are starting with software engineering and other technical fields because that's where the low-hanging fruit is. And perhaps because that's where their own labor costs are highest. And secret third thing is that if the software engineer problem can get tackled, what would that help you do? Oh, no, we haven't watched the Kyrgyzstan South Korea video. We haven't watched it. It's not, I don't know that it's particularly relevant. There's a small reference to it, to AI and whatnot, automation. But I'll Google it for you just because I want to make sure. There it is. Second suggestion. This is it. Now, I understand that there could be some issues with Kyrgyzstan, etc., etc. What up, Red? I'm just saying, the arguments, as long as the data in this video is sound, the arguments in this video are terrifying. And it's not just, it's your boy, right? This is your boy Hassan out here watching the same fucking Kyrgyzstan video. Apparently twice. Doing the shocked face. Should I need to throw in shocked faces, like full screen, like, so that when I put my video up on YouTube, it'll default to that, like as the thumbnail. I am not recommending that you watch anything other than the actual Kyrgyzstan video and go from there, right? Like, and if you have arguments against anything that they're saying, I suggest that you look into that, right? Like, that to me is a rabbit hole worth delving into for someone, not for me, not today. Did I say what up, Nick? What up, Nick? 2 other reasons they target software and math is because it's close to their own interests and it may help accelerate the next AI development. Yes, that's exactly correct, right? That's the thing. Like, there's that the holy grail of AI development is the flywheel, is that reciprocal, process where it will improve itself and then make a better one, and then the better one will make a better one, and the better one will make a better one, and apply that to like all aspects of the AI development process, right? The sticking point that they're going to run into is that even if they can get that going on, is the potential that they're going to run into some sort of bottleneck as it like pertains to like architecture and the ability to build out data centers. That's why, like, there are people making these arguments that, China overbuilt on data centers and like that. And maybe the technology like that's going to be required could make that true, right? But what I see when I see a bunch of data centers built up, ready to go, that aren't being used yet, is they understand that eventually they're going to get that flywheel effect on the software side, and they're going to need a ton of hardware in order to run that shit, right? I don't think China's fucking up in that regard at all. I also don't think that the ghost cities that China has going on are like also the same thing. I've heard some shit that they're like, not really, they're not fully built out cities or whatever. I am convinced, right? I'm putting on my tinfoil hat regarding China real quick. I am convinced that at some point in time, China is going to look to move people out of cities and to these new cities, right? Some of which is going to be because building a city on top of an old city leads to a lot of technical debt. And at some point in time, you have to go in and tear that shit out and rebuild the new shit on top of it. And if you move the people out of there, that's something you can do, especially if you live in a world, A, that's got a lot more remote work to it, B, has a lot of robots doing jobs that the people were required to do, etc., right? You can see where I'm going with this, right? It's a little tinfoil hat, might not come to pass. I might be going all sci-fi on the thing, but I can see a plausible reason why you might want to do that when your country does long-term planning, right? What up, Nemesis? I overbuilt on GPUs? No, you're just ready for the next wave. I know, Brad. I was not built for the internet. I need to just pop off and talk about vibes. There's a really weird empty city of cookie cutter mansions in Turkey. Huh. that's weird. I don't know what to do with that. It might be that they didn't think that when they were building them was a GDP increase thing, but they could use it for that purpose. I don't know. Again, there could be other reasons, right? I could be completely off base. That's why I said I'm putting on my tinfoil hat, right? Like I'm speculating here. And this is a thing that people should do when they're talking out of their ass, right? Like this could be a thing, right? If I happen to be right about it, of course he does. Of course Rhizome has a goddamn tinfoil hat. Just, why do I bother? Why do I just bother anything? We should all just be Rhizome and call it good, right? Like I want to be part of the Rhizome industrial complex. I want Rhizome will give me better emotes, and I'll give Rhizome half my subs. Anyways, where the hell were we? These companies believe the same techniques will soon be used to automate work in dozens of occupations, ranging from consulting to finance and marketing. Dario Amodei, Anthropic's chief executive, recently predicted that AI could eliminate half of all entry-level white-collar jobs within 5 years. The white-collar bloodbath is the thing. Ask Rhizome for their stream key. Yeah, I'm sure they would just give it to me. Do you know how many people would be mad tuning into a Rhizome stream and seeing my face not giving them the brain rot that they came to fucking do? That timeline could be wildly off if firms outside tech adopt AI more slowly than many Silicon Valley companies have, or if it's harder than expected to automate jobs in more creative and open-ended occupations where training data is scarce. This is the thing. Oh yeah, no, like they would whatever is banned, like it would all be just all the chatters would be just throwing up the skip, right? They would want to skip me. I could see it in my head. It's a whole sea of fucking skip. That's it. Thank you, excellent. That's exactly what it would be, just like that. But even if AI doesn't take all the entry level to lock in, thank you, Brad. Thank you, Joint Specialist. At least I know that there's some of you. Just the contrarians that exist in Rhizome's, community is like people will just what's the trend? Okay, we're the opposite, and it's team opposite, and it's a whole fucking thing. It's like y'all are crazy. just because. The first is that in a rush to boost productivity and stay ahead of the curve, some companies might be turning to AI too early before the tools are robust enough to handle full entry-level workloads. We recently, and they're talking about, no. Okay. Thank you, Kevin Roos. Goddamn, like, all the shit talking I have ever given Kevin Roos, I'm taking it all back, right? I wasn't wrong. I'm just saying that Kevin has evolved, and I want to give Kevin the full credit Kevin's entitled to. We recently saw an example of this in Klarna, the Swedish buy now, pay later company, which declared 2 years ago that it was replacing customer service agents with AI chatbots, only to reverse course and rehire humans after customers complained. He earned a reset. He did. He absolutely did. Like, we have to allow for people to be better. And Kevin is better. Some executives are making a calculated bet that AI systems will improve quickly, or that the money they stand to save by employing virtual workers instead of human ones is worth a few unhappy customers. But others may not realize the risks they're taking. This is a thing why people are going with something like Enterprise Chat GPT as opposed to building their own in-house tool. An in-house tool you have to maintain, you have to improve. You might make a wrong choice. The Enterprise Chat GPT, that's on them. As it improves, you get better models. You don't have to worry about any of that shit. Did you bet on the wrong company? Well, then you shift over to Gemini Enterprise or Claude Enterprise or whatever. Like, the competition is currently high and you can choose the best model for your business. The second is that even if entry-level jobs don't disappear right away, the expectation that those jobs are short-lived may lead companies to underinvest in job training, mentorship, and other programs aimed at entry-level workers. True. That could leave those workers unprepared for more senior roles later on. Absolutely. This is that thing we were talking about earlier when it comes to the technical debt metaphor as it applies to the hollowing out of the middle, right? You need to train people in order to be, like with the writer's room, you're not training the young writers to be showrunners anymore. You are bringing them in to just do some grunt work for a week or two and like that. We absolutely need a Jubilee. Not Jubilee, the YouTube show, because that thing is terrible, but a Jubilee, as in the debt forgiveness, etc., etc. Nobody has patience or time for hand-holding in this new environment where a lot of the work can be done by AI autonomously. Heather Doche, the head of people and talent at the... Isn't that HR? isn't the head of people and talent? Isn't that HR? At the venture capital firm Signal Fire told me, there's a silver lining for recent graduates. It's that, at least some of them, the threat of AI replacement seems to be lighting a useful kind of fire. Some young workers I spoke to are using their experience with AI to vault themselves ahead of more senior colleagues, and others are steering clear of the traditional ladder climbing professions altogether. Like, this is another thing, is that if you have people who are resistant to the new technology, those people are going to find themselves in some really fuck, Larry. You can see it though, can't you? Right? You can see the debate on Jubilee with one AI researcher and 100 people who lost their jobs to AI. And then the inverse, right? One AI denier versus 100 people who lost their jobs to AI, right? Like, you can see all of this happening. Jubilee is just an absolute... It's a special kind of reality TV. But yeah, people, this is why I want you, again, you don't have to love the AI, et cetera, et cetera. You should just learn what it can do and learn how you can use it in order to be at the company the longest. Because I assume, like we're going to have some troubles. And the longer that you can stay at the company, the softer your landing is going to be, right? And then you can, like, there's also, like I said, the startups, right? A lot of startups are a couple of people with an idea who are building up their idea using the tools. Maybe that's a route that some people can go. I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination, the old bullshit line about everyone can just start a business, right? Not everyone can just start a business. But if you can start a business in that sense, if you can make a little startup with you and your buddy and bust out something that might actually have some utility and get you paid, it's worth a shot. Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Have you tried not being poor? I have not. How do you do that, Fred? Trevor Chow, 23, a recent Stanford graduate living in San Francisco, told me that many friends had weighed AI progress among their considerations when looking for jobs. Few of them were going into traditional tech and finance careers, he said, and more were doing risky things like starting companies. Maybe I should just push play on the video, bro. On the theory that if humans are about to lose their labor advantage to powerful AI system, they better hurry and do something big. It feels like there aren't that many years left to do things. If the amount of leverage you have as a human becomes very small, a lot of career paths that don't pay off for many years aren't worthwhile. Alexa, access my trust fund. Where are my trust fund Oilers in the crowd? Speaking of the Guardian, one day I overheard my boss saying, just put it in ChatGPT. The workers who lost their jobs to AI. From radio hosts replaced by avatars to comic artists whose drawings have been copied by Midjourney. How does it feel to be replaced by a bot? I'm going to say shitty. I'm going to say it feels shitty to be replaced by a bot. They call it an experiment aimed at younger audiences. Mateusz Dembski, 31, journalist, Krakow, Poland. I've been a freelance journalist for 10 years, usually writing for magazines and websites about cinema. I presented a morning show on Radio Krakow twice a week for about 2 years. It was only one part of my work, but I really enjoyed it. It was about culture and cinema and featured a range of people from artists to activists. I remember interviewing Ukrainians about the Russian invasion for the first program I presented back in 22. I was let go in August 24 alongside a dozen coworkers who were also part-time. We were told the radio station was having financial problems. I was relatively okay with it as I had other income streams. But a few months later, I heard the Radio Krakow was launching programs hosted by 3 AI characters. Each had AI-generated photographs, a biography, and a specific personality. They called it an experiment aimed at younger audiences. One of the first shows they did was a live interview with a Polish poet, Wisława, I'm disappointing my Polish ancestors right now, Szymborska, winner of the 1996 Nobel Prize for Literature, who had died 12 years earlier. Woo! What are the ethics of using the likeness of a dead person? Szymborska is a symbol of Polish intellectual culture, so it caused outrage. I couldn't understand it. Radio is created by people for other people. We cannot replace our experiences, emotions, or voices with avatars. I'm wondering if, like, I don't know what the rules are in Poland. I'm wondering if they had to get, like, the estate's permission to use their likeness, right? Like, there was a whole thing with James Earl Jones and his voice being used for Darth Vader through an AI in Fortnite, and it was approved by the estate, but still people were mad because it doesn't matter. They only care that it was done. They don't actually care about any of the ethics behind it. One would assume that if the estate's okay with it, that they should be okay with it, and in fact, they are not. I don't know. This could be they just decided to make this. You know what I mean? You will pay in the future, Ponder Monkey, but that's between you and AI Vader. Yeah, no, what up, Walking Stick? No, it's nice. It's nice that Stampy is back with us. One of my colleagues who was laid off is queer. One of the new AI avatars was called Alex, a non-binary student and a specialist in queer subjects. You're gonna. Ooh. In Poland, we are still fighting for queer rights, and as journalists, it is incumbent on us to have real representation when we're reporting on this. For my colleague and the LGBTQ plus community, it was shocking and damaging to hear their lived experience and knowledge being imitated by AI. Some of us who had been laid off started a petition against the station, calling for regulation and to get the AI show taken off the air. We got tens of thousands of people to sign. Actors, journalists, artists, but also listeners. Hundreds of young people didn't want to listen to an AI show. What up, Ghost? The station has since scrapped the avatars, largely because of the success of our campaign. And this is the point, right? There was enough of a constituency, right? It's about constituency. Enough of a constituency got together enough people, and the radio station gave a shit about what those people thought. You know what I mean? This is what you have to do. If the radio station, if this was Sinclair Media, would they have given a shit about what these people thought? I just pulled Sinclair out of my ass. I don't know what their policy is around AI. The station has since scrapped the avatars, largely because of the success of our campaign. It's now student run, aka probably nobody getting paid. The station claim this is about offering mentorship, but it's also a cheaper alternative to hiring qualified journalists. Yes, people not getting paid. It's volunteer. You learn through exposure, right? I guess it's better than AI, though. There you go. Right? There you go. There's still no clear regulations covering its use in Poland. I'm not campaigning for regulation because I lost my job to AI. I'm campaigning because I'm worried about the ethics of all this, about misinformation and deceiving listeners. I'm a realist. I'm not completely against AI. I think it can be used responsibly to do the boring bits of our job, but we can't substitute complex thinking with machines. AI can't replace curiosity, creativity, or emotional intelligence. Can it replace curiosity? At this point in time, no, because it lacks that, like that imperative, right? Like there's something about curiosity that requires like a certain kind of bias and a certain kind of agency operating in tandem, and where you need to know something, and that doesn't, as far as I know, currently exist in AI. Creativity, I don't know, boy. I don't know. Emotional intelligence, even those who've kept their jobs have had their wages reduced. Lena Maylina, 30, illustrator, Bandung, Indonesia. Today's episode title. I guess it's better than AI, though. I've been drawing and painting since I was a kid. Even in kindergarten, I was doodling. By elementary school, I was drawing comics, and my teachers knew I had potential. I have strict traditional parents who told me art wouldn't make me any money, but I wanted to follow my dreams. Now I make anime-style illustrations, and most of my income comes from commissions. I draw bespoke characters for clients and also create my own. What up, Taker? They did have high potential. Curiosity can't be taught or replicated. It's a drive and a thirst for gestures broadly. I agree that I don't know that I agree. I don't know that I agree. I think you can teach curiosity, or you can teach something that brings curiosity out of people. Right? And we're still talking about people here. Whether or not it can be replicated through the AI, I'm not entirely certain. Right? Today, no. With today's models, no. With some future model, I don't know. Sure, I may offend a few of the blue noses with my cockstride and musky odors. Oh, I'll never be the darling of the so-called Twitch fathers who cluck their tongues, stroke their beard, and talk about what's to be done with this ponder monkey. I know enough to know that that's a reference. I just don't know what it is. And congratulations, as always, Ponder Monkey. Can tell an agent to randomly search, but whether that's equivalent to curiosity is another story. Simpsons, thank you. I knew I heard it somewhere. Yeah, no, I would say no. I would say it's not curiosity, because curiosity has a motive, right? Like it has a drive to it, right? You are curious, not just generally, not randomly, but specifically. You know what I mean? And again, I don't know how you replicate that in a machine. I'm just not saying that whatever that you couldn't build up a simulacrum of that through process. I know that you can do it with children, right?
Now I'm more curious. I'm so curious about knowledge and obtaining information.
As you should be. I know you can engender it in children, right? Like you can. We can't get the kids off their phones. Then that's on you. You can get kids off their phones, right? I mean, find a bug, right? Bugs are neat. Find what is the kid like, right? Does the kid like plants? Does the kid like bugs? Does the kid like whatever, right? Like spend some time figuring out what the kid like. What you're mad about is that you're fucking boring, right? And the kid doesn't like what you like. You know what I mean? Water fight, right? Kids like mud. Kids like water, you know? Like kids are, you can do shit. Take them to the fucking zoo. Take them to the aquarium. You can get kids off their phones. Stop being lazy, adult. Even before AI tools arrived, it wasn't easy. Indonesia doesn't take artists seriously, and copyright laws are weak. I've seen people steal my work, put it on merch to sell on retail websites such as AliExpress. Hey, so have I. I have to get them taken down myself, screenshotting pages one by one to report them to the site's admin. Now, AI makes it harder to prove ownership because it can take your art and make slight changes, so it's not a direct copy. I first learned about generative AI a few years ago watching a YouTuber introduce viewers to the software Midjourney, which generates image based on prompts. He asked the program to produce an image in the style of comic book artist Alex Ross. The finished work was good, with Ross's distinctive hyper-realistic style and color palette. That's not how I would describe Alex Ross. I wouldn't say it's hyper-realistic. I can see the argument. Alex Ross is amazing. Really good stuff. The it looks painted, right? I'm not sure if they use digital or actual paints, but it looks painted. Google Alex Ross, and if you like superheroes, you'll find fucking just mad amounts of shit. Kingdom Come. This is an amazing work of fiction. Again, I'm always going to shout out comic books. Not your fucking video game, bro. No, I don't want to go to Amazon. Change my mind, I changed my mind, I changed my mind, I'm already got it. Didn't want to go to Amazon. Thought I was going to Wikipedia. Can I see it big? No. God damn it. Google. Google is unusable. I don't know if you can see this. You can't really see it. Trying to make it big. Trying to make it big for you. There. That's as big as I can make it. You see how like this is supposed to be old Superman. He's got the wrinkles and shit. You can't really see the white on the side of the thing. But like Alex Ross's art style is really like moody. You know what I mean? And this is Green Lantern in like, you know, in this future. This is Flash in the future. He doesn't have a thigh gap. Wonder Woman, you know. And it like in one sense, the story is kind of like a back in my day, you know, kids today kind of commentary on the comic universe, but it's like it really but in a good way, you know what I mean? The all the younger superheroes, and there's like just a shit ton of younger superheroes, and they're acting up, right? And not really giving a shit about the people. Kingdom Come, if you like The Boys, you wouldn't have The Boys without Kingdom Come. Because that's the commentary, just in a much more like respectable kind of way. That's the commentary that Kingdom Come was making. And then you end up with like The Boys as being the evolution of that. You know, everything is gritty and everything is wildin' and everything is crazy. And the superheroes don't give a shit about the regular folks because they're fighting the supervillains. And, you know, people like Superman. Superman's always supposed to be looking out for the little guy and shit like that. Highly recommend Kingdom Come. It's got a lot of good shit. It's fucking... And it's Alex Ross all the way through. Doop, 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 doop. Where'd it go? There it is. Alex Ross. I remember thinking, oh shit, this is going to be a disaster. Since last year, when AI really took off, my workload has plummeted. I used to get up to 15 commissions a month. Now I get around 5. People can take your art and feed it into an AI program to create work. A follower of mine recently used AI to portray my characters doing something inappropriate. I tried to report it, but the platform said it didn't violate its copyright policy. The other thing, there's another side to this. It is not just that, why should I pay you to make your art when I can just do it for free with an AI? It is, I'm broke. It's tough out here. And I can't afford the whatever it is that you charge for a commission. I just can't afford it anymore. Right? Like, I used to maintain, a few subscriptions. They were like a monthly bill as far as I was concerned. Right? It was just part of the thing. And then I can't anymore. And it's not that I don't want to. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. One of the main platforms freelance artists use to get work recently launched a campaign called Nobody Cares If You Use AI, encouraging clients and artists to embrace AI tools. Well, I care, as do a lot of my colleagues. And I hate this. I hate these absolute terms, and everybody does. And well, not. Yeah, I just did it. A lot of people do this, right? A lot of people use the hyperbolic, nobody cares, or nobody wants your AI. Well, that's not true, right? Like, I know that's not true. It's a process of self-improvement, Pharaoh. Like, it is so easy to do. And when I catch myself doing it, I call myself out. It's part of the process. Because people do care, right? People do care if you use AI, and people do like using the AI tools, and people do like. So there is no nobody and there is no everybody. Like you're either doing it to be hyperbolic and you're not thinking about it and everything else, or you're doing it because you don't give a shit about the people who disagree with you, and you're only actually talking about the people who agree with you, because, and that's part of the fucking problem. Even the Indonesian government is using AI art. They recently released a video promoting a scheme that provides free lunches for students. It's a great initiative, but it breaks my heart that they used AI instead of commissioning a talented Indonesian artist. You know why? Because it was cheaper. Right? But this is a dichotomy that you're going to run into. And where do you fall? Would you reject the free lunches for students because they used AI art? This is something you have to ask yourself. It's something people should be asking themselves. Like, what's your fucking line, dude? Maybe they did. Maybe that talented Indonesian artist did use AI as part of their process, right? Like, I don't know. And then it just, I don't know. Maybe the situation is complex and nuanced and not just a situation where you can just express it in absolutes. I used to work in a small studio as a storyboard artist for TV commercials. Since AI appeared, I've seen colleagues lose jobs because companies are using Midjourney. Even those who kept their jobs have had their wages reduced, and pay in Southeast Asia is already low. Maybe Mom was right that I shouldn't be an artist. I've had to look for other sources of income. At the moment, I make cosplay props on commission. I love illustrating, but if I keep losing clients because of AI, I'll probably go into prop making full time. Cosplay prop making is good work if you can get it, right? And could definitely be a place that you can get some longevity out of it. The places that it's like currently vulnerable to automation are relatively few, right? Like you could use an AI tool, we've covered them, to create a 3D model of something. And then you could 3D print that, right? Like 3D printing has been a huge boon to the cosplay community. But like, you're still going to have somebody 3D print it. You're still going to have somebody like sand it down. Like, there's a whole bunch of steps that still exist in that process. It's still very bespoke, as the kids say, very artisanal, very time intensive, and like that. So it has there's some space there, right? But a lot of people can't afford cosplay props. A lot of people have to make it themselves. Which means that the market that you're competing over with other humans is very small. I feel devastated for the younger generation. It's taking all the creative jobs. Annabelle Beals, 49, copywriter. Do y'all pronounce this Southampton? Or do y'all have, like, something? Like, because I know how you UK people get with your words. You like to... It's not Worcestershire. It's Worcester or whatever. It is Southampton. I'm picking on y'all. I landed my dream job in 2023. It's pronounced Northampton. I landed my dream job in 2023 writing content for a garden center. I mostly did search engine optimization. So you're one of those people who ruined Google. And wrote gardening tips for their magazine and blog. My colleagues were friendly and the hours were flexible. I've always loved reading and writing. I was brought up on a farm with no television, so I was always at the library reading Judy Blume books. More people should read Judy Blume books. I think if you can get a young boy to read fucking a Judy Blume book, they will not end up in the manosphere. I am confident of that. You learn a lot from fucking Judy Blume books about being a better human being. If I didn't like the ending, I would rewrite it. But I never thought then that I could pursue writing as a career. Where I'm from, it was hard to break into anything creative. People either worked as a nurse or at the local car manufacturer. Even though I wanted to be a writer, my mom had always told me to have a backup plan. Copywriting didn't come to me straight away. And this is copywriting as in writing of copy, not copywriting as in the right of copy, right? Copywriting didn't come to me straight away, so I did secretarial work for years and admin roles in the public sector. I'd heard of some friends who needed a copywriter for their business, and I was interested in writing professionally, so I enrolled on an online course. It cost a month's wages and took 8 months to complete, but I enjoyed the creativity. I got the gardening center job a few months later. I'd interview different experts to write blogs on topics such as growing potatoes or planting trees. I threw myself into it, passed my probation. Around 8 months in, I noticed I was getting less work. One day, I overheard my boss say to a colleague, "Just put it in ChatGPT." Marketing departments started to use it more often to write their blogs, and they were just asking me to proofread. I remember walking around the company's beautiful gardens with my manager and asking him if AI would replace me, and he stressed that my job was safe. He lied to you. No one's job is safe. There's no such thing as a safe job. There's no, your job is not safe. I don't care what you do and how safe you think it is. No one's job is safe. No such thing as a safe job, dude. As long as you work for someone else, you are prone to that. And most of us, even if we're, on our own, work for someone else, right? Like if you do glass block windows, which I do, you work for the client. So you work for someone else. 6 weeks later, Twitch streamer seems pretty safe. I mean, it's safe in that you can always do it as long as you have a computer and the internet. I mean, technically you can do it on the phone, but we know that that it's a whole different kind of Twitch streamer. But does it pay the bills? Dalai Lama seems like a safe position. Yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe we should all just be Dalai Lama. 6 weeks later, I was called into a meeting with HR, right? I remember walking around the company's beautiful gardens with my manager and asking him if AI would replace me, and he stressed that my job was safe. 6 weeks later, I was called into a meeting with HR. They told me they were letting me go immediately. It was just before Christmas. This is like demon shit, right? I sure, Ghost. This is demon shit. Like, thankfully, I got a temp role doing admin work in January, but going back to that after having my dream writing job was devastating. The reason it's demon shit, even if you don't buy into the whole Christmas is corporatized and whatever, it's just if you get fired after Thanksgiving, you're not getting a job until January, right? That's what's demon shit about it. And it might even go longer. You might not get a job until spring, right? Like it depends on what industry you work in. If you get fired after Thanksgiving, you're in for at least 2 months of fucking trouble. Yeah, I mean, you could do temp holiday retail shit, but how many people are applying to do temp holiday retail shit, right? Who just want to make some additional money for Christmas, right? There's a whole thing of people working like an extra job for that run up to Christmas just to make sure that they can give their kids or whatever. The students are taking our gerbs. The company's website is sad to see now. It's all AI generated and factual. What? What up, big man? No Christmas bonus too. Yeah. No, it's some Bob Cratchit shit, right? Company's website is sad to see now. It's all generated and factual. There's no substance or sense of actually enjoying gardening. And that's what they mean by factual, right? Like they're saying it's just a list of facts as opposed to the nuances of people's experience. Like I know that most of us are at the point with when you go to a recipe on a website, you're hitting that jump to recipe button right away. But there are people who care about the story, right? Like again, when I talk about art, I talk about broadly the two kinds of people who are into art, right? You either appreciate the finished work or you appreciate the journey, Some people appreciate the journey and they want this little story about how your grandma back in fucking whatever the fuck as you were growing up and they used to have the smell of the fucking apple pie or whatever the shit. And it's a whole fucking thing. And you build up this attachment to the thing that you're creating. And it adds something to the experience. And fine, cool, right? The actual reason why there are stories before every recipe is that people need to secure their space on the internet, right? They need to secure that. And you can't secure a recipe. right? But you can secure your story that you put before the recipe. That's why that exists. And then the rest of us are just hitting jump to recipe because I don't give a shit. I don't even know that this is true. That's where I'm at. Stories are good for SEO. But it's the AI that ruined the internet, not the SEO. AI scares the hell out of me. I feel devastated for the younger generation. It's just taking all the creative jobs. I'm now a PA in cancer research. I hate to tell you about the AI and the cancer research, but ah. I'm now a PA in cancer research at in the university sector. I feel more settled, but I regret going into copywriting. I got the job at the gardening center at a time when my mom was terminally ill. I remember asking her whether I should take it, as it would mean I wouldn't be able to spend as much time with her. She told me to follow my dreams and go for it. I thought it'd be there for years, working as a copywriter until I retired. Looking back, I wish I'd spent more time with my mom instead. Listening to a series I'd recorded, I heard my character say a line, but it wasn't my voice. Richie Tavaki, 31, voice actor, San Francisco, US. Spent 10 years training to be a voice actor. Takes skill. It's my job to bring honesty to the story I tell. I recently played the main character, Jesse, in a survival video game. Jesse crash lands on a snowy mountain. As his voice, I have to consider whether he's injured, how he feels, and the shock he's in. My mom encouraged me to try acting classes while I was at university, as it was something I had always talked about doing. Immediately, I was hooked, and after a few semesters, I decided to pursue it professionally. I started training seriously while taking customer service jobs to support myself. My first gig in a professional studio was an Animal Farm audio drama in 2023, in which I played Napoleon. It was a great experience to get mic'd up and perform with the whole cast. The effect of generative AI in my industry is something I felt personally. Recently, I was listening to an audio drama series I recorded and heard my character say a line, but it wasn't my voice. I hadn't recorded that section. I contacted the producer, who had told me he had input my voice into AI software to say the extra line, but he hadn't asked my permission. I later found out he had uploaded my voice to a platform allowing other producers to access it. I requested its removal, but it took me a week and I had to speak to 5 people to get it done. Okay, but you got it done. I'm surprised you were able to get it done. Right? That's where I thought that story was going. That the contract that you had signed to do the work included a caveat that you didn't see or whatever, something like that. Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, began a strike last year against certain major video game studios because voice actors were unhappy with the lack of protections against AIs. Developers can record actors, then AI can use those initial chunks of audio to generate further recordings. Actors don't get paid for any of the extra AI-generated stuff, and they lose their jobs. I've seen it happen. One client told me straight out that they have started using generative AI for their voices because it's faster. But when characters are written and voiced well, people relate to them. Take Batman, who was voiced by the late Kevin Conroy in the animated series. People appreciated his work because he brought the character to life. When done right, people will value it and pay money for it. I mean, yes, right? Like, I'm not saying no. I'm saying that a lot of, like, there was no option. Right? We don't know what people will pay for. I'm just saying this is not the argument that I would make. I think when done right, people appreciate a well done voice actor. I'm sure you do, Larry. I'm just saying that there was nothing to compare it to. Right? The only thing we had to compare it to was people doing voice work well and people doing it poorly, which to an extent is subjective. Now there's a secret third thing, and we don't necessarily know whether or not people are going to care. A certain segment of the population. And there's also the issue of diversity. I'm American Samoan, and I wouldn't be happy to hear a Samoan voice generated by AI. It could be inaccurate and even offensive. It's just a bunch of numbers and words imitating a culture I was brought up in. A great example of this is Ghost of Tsushima, a video game that's based in Japan. All the cast were of Japanese heritage. They were in tune with the culture, and they brought so much honesty to the story. AI can't replicate that. It's a machine. It doesn't have that background, and it never will. And then there's a last one I'm not going to get to because it's already 1:15 and I have to get going. I know what boys like. I know what guys want. But if you want to read that last story, there it is. Boys like me. Yin, 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 yin. Yin, 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 yin. Speaking of, one of my favorite subs just expired. I appreciate y'all. I will be back tomorrow somewhere between 10:30 and 11 o'clock to do the news. I'll be back this evening at 5 p.m. to do the videos. We got a lot of videos to do. So I hope you will be here. I hope you'll be here. I hope you'll show up. I hope you'll hang out. I hope you'll show up. I will sing these words in this specific way. You'll like me. Yin, 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 yin. Where are we rating? I want to rate Emma. Stick around for the raid, even if you have someplace else to be. You know how this all works. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you. This was a lot of fun today. And I'll see you in just under 4 hours. And in the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot, and always remember that Shaggy loves you, and so do I. And if you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit that bell to stay notified, and have fun over at Chemist.